Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody, and tonight we're going to be previewing all 6 Saturday matchups for the Indoor Football League for Week 6. So, it's going to be a doozy. Timestamps are going to be right here for everyone to go look. Favorite team, I encourage you guys to watch the entire video. It's a lot of work to put into it, but like I've said, I understand if you just want to watch your favorite team preview. I'm just the same way sometimes as well. So without further ado, we are going to get into it with the earlier games, 6:05 with Vegas and Jacksonville. So let's mosey on over there and we will start the preview. All right, starting off with preview number 1, 6:05 Central Time, live from the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. The 3-0 Vegas Nighthawks are taking on the 0-3 Jacksonville Sharks in the Shark Tank. You look at our team leaders and everything like that, and the statistics and stuff, and Jerome Johnson, leading rusher, leading passer, he's just been on a tear this year, man. He is the league leading rusher in the Indoor Football League right now. 3rd in passing yards in the Indoor Football League. He's just MVP caliber right now. He is just on a tear. Your leading receiver, Quentin Randolph, he is actually 6th in receiving yards in the league, 169 total yards right there. The man has been pretty good. Caleb Hawley trying to catch right back up to him. He had quite a few good plays when they played San Antonio. So Jacksonville is kind of looking good right there. You look at the defensive side, and Maurice Jackson with 3.5 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 5.5 total tackles. Mikel Calhoun, the man has been on a mission, 20 total tackles. He has been all over the place. 5th leading tackler in the league. And you cannot forget Bryce Hampton over there in the defensive secondary. 13.5 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 2 picks, and 4 pass breakups. Players to watch on the Vegas side, I have Jerome Johnson. Why not? The guy is everywhere. Now, granted, in the game that they played against Jacksonville just a few weeks ago, he did get hurt sometime in the second half, and Joe Mancuso had to come into the game. So I don't think there's going to be anything from that game that's going to carry over into this one. No, like, jitters or anything like that. Barring anything, which you saw the Tucson game a few nights ago, anything can happen. I fully expect him to be the starter. We'll kind of talk on the Jacksonville side about new players and stuff like that. But Jerome Johnson kind of just lit it up last game against San Antonio. 7 total touchdowns, over 200 total yards of offense. Defensively, Mikel Calhoun, he's got to be the guy on defense. 7.5 tackles, 1 for a loss. I know the stats don't necessarily pop off right there, but at the same time, when you consider what Calhoun is going to have to do against Jacksonville, and again, we'll talk about the Sharks here in a second, he's got to do it all. He's got to pressure the quarterback, play coverage. I mean, most linebackers in this league do, but it's going to be even more detrimental to him when it comes to, is Blount going to be the starter? If he is, just keep getting after him. If you're putting a rookie in there, which I'll be honest, I don't expect, but if you do, whether it's N'Kosi Perry or Fred Jr., I can't remember his last name, we'll look at the 25-man roster. It's even more detrimental. Blitz the guy. Don't get him comfortable. So I've got Calhoun right there to make sure that the defense can disrupt. Looking on the Jacksonville side right now, and Logan Blount, your leading passer, or Connor Blount, your leading passer, Logan Wright, your leading rusher. Wright's not on the team anymore. Tamarian Terry, your leading receiver with 10 receptions, 140 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, Connor Blount is still 9th in passing, even with his injuries and things like that he's been dealing with. And Jacksonville has 3 wide receivers in the top 20 in receiving yards throughout the entire league. So the passing game is there. It's just that running game that needs to get after it. Even with Blount being injured and Eddie Brill coming in, who's not on the roster anymore as well, Jacksonville still needs to find a running game. They've brought in Boom Williams. They've brought in, I'm blanking on his name again, too. I just did the rosters today. We'll look at it in the 25-man roster. So Coach Gibson for Jacksonville is revamping this team on the fly right here to see if they can get stuff going. Looking defensively, Harrison Poole is the third leading tackler in the indoor football league at 23.5 tackles. Marcus Bragg, who I don't believe is on the roster either, 6 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. Doesn't matter. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what Jacksonville can come up with here for game number 4. My players to watch, Tamarian Terry. Last game against Bay Area, 6 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. It's a good stat line, I'll tell you that much. Regardless of who's throwing to him, like I said, I fully expect it to be Connor Blunt. Tamarian Terry is just that go-to guy. There's a reason why he is one of the top 3 receivers in the top 20. I know that stat's a little confusing, but he's good. Him, Cam Solomon, and I think it was Brian Smith and someone else were in there too, but Brian Smith's gone. Who cares? It's going to be up to Terry and Cam Solomon, to be honest with you, if you can't get a running game going. Jabari Gorman, 8 tackles and 1 pass breakup on the defensive side. Vegas likes to throw deep. Caleb Hawley, Quentin Randolph, Jonathan Johnson, CJ Wyndham. Name your poison, man. So Gorman, Poole, Ham. I always forget the 4th one. It's like the Ringo Starr of the defensive secondary. I apologize. They're going to have to come with it. They're going to have to come with it, and they're going to have to stop Vegas. And that's kind of hard to do right now. Series history, 1-0 in favor of Vegas. 39-33 in week 3, just a few weeks ago. They're favored by 10.5 are the Nighthawks. Over-under of 83.5. Excuse me. Money line is locked. So let's go check out that 25-man roster I've been alluding to, and we will go check out our bet and move on with preview number 2. All right, 25-man roster popping up here. And briefly, as always, and these are just the 21 starters from the previous game. So transactions. It'd be nice to have a page for it. Just saying. We'll never get one this season. Malik Harris for Vegas. He's got traded to San Diego. So look for someone on that defensive line like Ronald Collins. I think Maurice Jackson is still on short-term injured reserve. So I think Ronald Collins is going to be that guy to fill that role over there. I don't know what other tinkering they're going to do. They've been kind of fine on that offense. I think this is going to be, if they stick with it, the 3rd game in a row, 2nd or 3rd game that they bring that offense back out. Now on the Jacksonville side, Logan Wright, gone. And this is just based on the website rosters. Logan Wright, gone. William Eoff, gone. Marcus Bragg, gone. Eddie Brill, gone. Everyone else is still on that roster. You've signed N'Kosi Perry and Fred Payton Jr., Stanley Boom Williams and Tyler King, and J.D. Granger and Anthony Johnson as well. So you're looking for... excuse me. I'm going to be doing that a lot. I apologize. My throat is killing me. You're looking for a complete retool, revamp, dare I say throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks, but they're tooling on the fly right here. Really quick, I do want to apologize to Brian Murray. I always forget you as the Ringo Starr of the secondary. You were actually very good. I don't know why I forget you. But quick retool, revamp, see what you can do here. Like I said, I don't think anyone's going to supplant Connor Blunt as the starting quarterback. Stanley Williams, Tyler King, I think Boom Williams, being veteran of the indoor game, will probably get the start there. I don't know if Jabril Gee is going to be back for the offensive side for that offensive line. I'd expect, since they don't really have anyone else on that side. Defensive line, you're probably either going to throw Nick Grant or Munoz in there and then have someone else, and we'll just see what they do. But there's our 25-man roster. Let's go take a look at our best bet, and we will move on with preview number 2. All right, best bet time, over 83.5. I just think that's kind of a low number. I know Jacksonville has not scored a lot of points this season. In fact, they have not scored more than 33 points in a game, and that was against Vegas. However, they have slowly given up more points as the games have gone along. So if this is any indication, Vegas is going to put up more than 39 points. seeing as they scored 66 last week against San Antonio. On the other side, Vegas is Vegas's defense is pretty good. And, if Jacksonville's new guys can adapt or can't adapt, it could spell trouble for this bet. But I do like over 83.5. I know they only got to 72 in the previous game, but more continuity, more chemistry. If Jacksonville can kind of get these guys to build off of each other, I think over 83.5 can actually be a pretty good bet to win. So let's move on with preview number 2, and we got 4 more after that to go. All right. Preview number 2, 7:05 Central Time. As always, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from Vibrant Arena at the Mark in Moline, Illinois. The 4-0 Massachusetts Pirates travel to the Quad Cities to take on the Steamwheelers. Statistical leaders on offense and defense for both teams right there, as you can see. And again, kind of like with the Vegas preview, Alejandro Benefield passing the ball like crazy. He's running the ball pretty well as well. He's not their leading rusher, but that running back tandem that Massachusetts has, does he really need to run the ball? Isaac Zico, 202 yards receiving. He is your leading receiver. Julius Turner, Calvin Bundage, Matt Elam. The defense is just really, really freaking scary. Let's go over some stats. Alejandro Benefield's second in passing yards in the league. Jimmy Robinson and Tavion Thomas are 3rd and 8th, respectively, in rushing yards. Tavion Thomas has played, I believe, just one game. Isaac Zico is 4th in the league when it comes to receiving yards. And defensively, Eugene Ford is tied for 1st in pass breakups with 8 and interceptions with 3. So he's getting after it. That's not to be, reliant on them or anything along those lines, but Calvin Bundage in the linebacker position, 16 tackles, 2.5 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks, 1 pass breakup, 1 forced fumble, 1 block kick. You need a microscope for all of the stats that he is compiling right now. He is on a tear defensively. Everyone on that defense is on a tear defensively, man. Massachusetts is good. Right now, they're probably my pick to win the championship game with the way that they're playing. Stats-wise for Quad City, Judd Erickson, Edward Vander, Kevon Rudd, they're there. When you kind of just look at the top 20, guys that are leading in yardage and stuff along those lines, Quad City doesn't really have anyone. They do, but they don't. Their offense is just kind of there. I think the biggest question right here is going to be, can Quad City stop Massachusetts running the ball? That's the biggest thing to me. Massachusetts has the 2nd best rushing offense in terms of yardage, and Quad City has the 12th best rush defense. Everything else from passing offense and everything like that, it's kind of even between the two, but right now, it's really, can you stop the run? Can you stop Tavion Thomas? Can you stop Jimmy Robinson? Whoever starts, if they play both of them, whatever the case could be. Moves us into a nice little segue of players to watch. The running backs. Any of them. Last week, 18 rushes, 120 yards, 3 touchdowns. This is Tavion Thomas. 4 catches for 17 yards. Jimmy Robinson's been lighting it up too. I don't know who they're starting. They play both. You're in for a hell of a game. Add Benefield to the running game as well. Any sort of jet sweeps. Massachusetts is in for one hell of a game. Defensively, I have Julius Turner. Judd Erickson has proven that he gets a lot of pressure. Sean Mustin for Green Bay was there. Sioux Falls was getting after him in the first game. He scrambles. He faces pressure quite a bit. Is that a testament to the offensive line? I'm not sure. Regardless, Julius Turner, 3.5 tackles, half a tackle for a loss, half a sack, and 1 pass breakup. Another guy that just needs to get off after it. Calvin Bundage as well. That defense is looking to be scary. I look for Massachusetts to blitz like they have been practically all season, man. Calvin Bundage has been a beast. Players to watch for Quad City, Kevon Rudd, 5 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown against Frisco. He got his first touchdown, or not his first touchdown. He he got the one touchdown, I believe, Quad City scored through the air. I think if that's the stat I'm trying to think of, that whatever. He's got a touchdown. That's the point I'm trying to get. 5 catches, 68 yards. Not the best, but I believe he was your leading receiver last week. You need to find him early and often. You need to get the other wide receivers involved too, but he's got to be the go-to guy. You've got a really good secondary in Massachusetts that can shut it down. Defensive line, Keyshawn Moore, 5 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 1.5 sacks, and 1 block kick against Frisco. He's slowly putting together a good stat line and a good little season right there on the defensive line. I believe this was his second game starting, and just more of the same there. You're going to need him to get after Benefield and stop the run and get after the running backs and get off your block and make some tackles when it matters most. So I look for a hard-fought, game in the trenches between these two and the defenses to really get after the offenses. Series history, 2-2, best of 5 right here. Last meeting was Week 10 in 2023. Massachusetts won 63-49. They're favored by 9.5, juiced money line to hell, and an over/under of 85.5. Let's go take a look at the 25-man roster and our bets. We'll move on with preview number 3. All right, 25-man roster popping up here and some more transactions. I still don't know how to pronounce his name, but I think it's Demon Brooks. He was traded to Tucson, so he's not playing for Massachusetts. And they have also signed down below Tyron Truesdell and Sam Montgomery. Everything else for Massachusetts is pretty much the same. I expect the starting 16 to probably still be the starting 16, barring any sort of short-term injured reserve, unless it's Tavian Thomas or Jimmy Robinson switching. So for the Quad City side, nothing really on the offense. Sean Connigan not on the roster, which leads me to believe that they're either going to put DJ Morgan at the linebacker position or they're going to move someone into that position. They also released DeMonte Ruth after a game, and they have signed Kevin Moore. It's escaping me where I don't know if they traded or if they just signed him. I think he was with Vegas. So he comes over here to the Quad Cities. I think he played with Tulsa last season, and I'm going to butcher his name here. Bikembe Carney. He was at the training camp with San Diego, and I believe they have signed him as well. So that's really it. I'm not sure to the levels of tinkering with the roster that's going to happen, but that's where we're at with the 25-man rosters. Let's go take a look at our bet, and we'll move on with our previews. All right, best bet, over 85.5. The reason I say that is I think Massachusetts is probably going to win this game. We'll obviously talk to Aaron and get his predictions and stuff at the very end of all of this. But Massachusetts, second best rushing offense, fourth best passing offense. They're just a juggernaut right now. Quad City probably down is going to have to throw it, and that is what they are better at. They're the 8th best passing offense, the 14th best rushing offense. You miss E.J. Hilliard yet? I do. But 8th best passing offense, they need to get the ball spread around. I look for them to kind of throw the ball, especially if they're down. So you'll probably see some points, even if it's some mercy points, unless Massachusetts just kind of shuts the offense down. What worries me is Quad City has not scored more than 40 points all season. Highest they've scored is 38 against Sioux Falls, and they needed overtime for it. And yeah, except the Jacksonville game, Massachusetts has put up over 40 points a game. So I have no issue with Massachusetts putting up 40 points. It's can Quad City. And then even then, you need a little bit more than 40 points. So I'm still taking the over here. I think Massachusetts is going to win, and maybe they win by enough to cover both sides and get us to 86. So let's move on with preview number 3. Let's do it. All right, preview number 3, live from the Wells Fargo Arena in Des Moines, Iowa, 7:05 Central Time on YouTube and Caffeine TV. The 1-3 Arizona Rattlers are looking to take on the 0-3 Iowa Barnstormers. A battle of mid indeed. In all seriousness, though, say that 5 times fast, Jesus. This should be a good matchup. Who can get right? Both of these teams are just kind of flailing right now, and this could be a turning point for one of these teams, a real confidence boost for Iowa if they can say they knocked off Arizona and push them to 1-4. Arizona needs it to just notch another win and keep Iowa winless. Look at the statistical leaders, and we'll talk 25-man roster, but Lorenzo Brown got released, so ignore that. You can not ignore Shannon Brooks. He is apparently off injury, and he is looking to come back. Glenn Gibbons Jr., my God, what can you say about the man? First in yards, touchdowns, and receptions for the wide receiving category. If you don't want a quarterback as an MVP candidate, Glenn Gibbons is clearly the guy. My God. Defensively, you can forget about Harold Love because he was also released. Talk about that again in the 25-man roster. Connor Taylor doing pretty well. Jermaine Dobbs, 19.5 tackles, which is 7th best when it comes to tackles in the league. On the Iowa side, Darius James Peterson, leading rusher and leading passer. He is the 9th best rusher in the league. Rob Washington, the running back for Iowa, is 13th. Kean Williams, is a little bit lower on the list in the receiving categories, but you look at his stats, he has caught the 3 touchdowns from Darius James Peterson. Actually, he hasn't. I take that back because Kyle King was in the game last week. But Kean Williams breaking out right now. 10 catches, 155 yards, 3 touchdowns. He is probably the spotlight of Iowa's offense right now. Darius James Peterson has the stats, but when you look to a guy that's kind of a go-to, I think Kean Williams is probably it. Defensively, it's Jefferson Fritz. It's the secondary. 29 tackles. He is the leading tackler in the Indoor Football League. 29 tackles. So Christian Russell is 11.5 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss and 1 sack. Chuck Manning, 6.5 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss and 1 sack. This game is going to come down to, can Arizona run the ball? They have the 5th best rushing offense. Iowa has the 13th best rushing defense. So, not good. As for all the other kind of, passing offense, rushing offense, they're all pretty even. Arizona has the 2nd best passing offense, but the passing defense for Iowa is also 2nd. This is all in terms of yardage. So, you make stats say whatever you want. I'm making it say that this could be a decent matchup. Overall, though, it's pretty much going to come down to, is Arizona going to run the ball all over Iowa? That's it. If Dalton Snead is back, and again, we'll talk about that in a second, look for him to be a dual threat. Shannon Brooks is probably going to run the ball quite a bit, too. He's been your leading rusher for Arizona, and he hasn't played in the last 2 games. That's how badly they're missing their rushing game here. Caveat, though, rushing quarterbacks are really good against Arizona, and Darius James Peterson is no slouch to that. So we'll see what happens. Players to watch, Glenn Gibbons. It's a given for Gibbons. 8 catches, 94 yards, and 3 touchdowns for against San Diego last week. Connor Taylor on the defensive side. You got to be able to neutralize Darius James Peterson. If there's any crossing routes over the middle, keep him uncomfortable. Knock players off their blocks, stuff like that. Offensively, Kean Williams for Iowa, 3 catches, 59 yards, and 1 touchdown. Like I said, he's got to be your breakout guy. You have some injuries on the defensive side of the ball for Arizona. Clearly don't have Harold Love. Dylan Winfrey's hurt. What can you do to get this guy the ball? Defensively for Iowa, Christian Russell, 5 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss and a sack. Again, it's making Dalton Snead uncomfortable. It's trying to get after the quarterback and making sure that you can do what you can in order to disrupt any timing routes. I've said it in plenty of previews by this point. Russell has to be the guy defensively, along with that defensive line. They have not really done much. They have not really done much in the terms of really putting pressure. That's why Jefferson Fritz has 29 tackles. So it'll be a fun game, I'll say that. Series history. Iowa leads excuse me, Iowa leads 3-1, but their last meeting was week 13 in 2018. We're talking 6 years ago at Iowa, 41-38. Iowa would go on to win the indoor football championship that year. Pretty cool. But yeah, 6 years, lots changed. Touchdown favorite for Arizona, juiced money line, over 81.5. Let's go look at the 25-man rosters, our bets. We'll move on with our previews. All right, so 25-man roster popping up here. Some changes. A lot of changes for Arizona. Gone is Lorenzo Brown and Harold Love. We said Shannon Brooks is probably going to start, so C.J. Odom is probably not in the lineup. Isaiah Houston is hurt. Dylan Winfrey is hurt. They have also signed quite a few players as well. P.J. Braun, Kevin Sims, Jr., DeAndre Cruz, and Ahmad Lyons. So they're not fooling around. They are trying to find the best guys that they can put in there, and we'll see what they do. Garrett Kettle had to play some wide receiver last week with Isaiah Houston going down. So I am really genuinely curious to see how Arizona is going to tinker with this roster to put themselves in the position to win this game. On the flip side, for Iowa, the only two things that I've really seen is they've signed linebackers Desmond Reed, and they've signed Malcolm Washington, who was with San Antonio to start the season. Other than that, I have not really seen them do too much with their roster, so it looks like everything will kind of just stay the same. Let's go check out our bet with that being said, and we'll move on with our previews. All right, best bet here, -7 for Arizona. It's just a get-right game for them. I'm sorry. I have no faith in Iowa right now. It just kind of sucks. You just see kind of more of the same. Arizona's 3 losses have been by a combined 18 points. They're putting up points. They're losing close. Arizona has scored over 40 points in every single game that they have played. So they are scoring points, and Iowa has only scored 30 one time this season. So that being said, I've got to pick Arizona in this game. I think the defense is going to get retooled. I think that offense is going to be good. Dalton Snead's coming back. Yeah, Darius James-Peterson can run. Robert Washington can run. And that's been kind of some contention for Arizona's rush defense. They're worst in the league. But if you can make Iowa get to third down, they're 14th in the league on third down conversions. I think Arizona has the upper hand in this game. I look for them to win. Let's move on with our other previews. We're halfway through. All right, preview number 4 here. 7:05 Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV. Live from the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The 3-0 Frisco Fighters travel to the Tulsa Oilers, who are 2-1. Their only loss, Frisco. Let's take a look at the statistical leaders right here. Obviously, TJ Edwards and Daniel Smith leading in rushing and passing for their respective teams. Devin McCoy and Alexis Rosario are your leading receivers. You look at the statistics for the defensive side of the ball, and quite a bit of stats to throw at you here. Daniel Smith is your 12th leading rusher and your 6th leading passer in the league. This is all based on yardage. TJ Edwards is your 4th leading rusher and your 15th leading passer, so obviously a better rusher than passer when it comes to statistics. And right now, Tulsa's passing offense 12th in the league. Frisco's is 16th, so probably a lot of running in this game. Frisco's rushing offense, the 3rd best rushing offense in terms of yardage, and they've got the number 1 rushing defense in terms of yardage right now. So I expect a lot of rushing in this game. Neither team has a wide receiver in the top 15 when it comes to like receiving stats and things along those lines, as we know. But I still look for a pretty good game. They played pretty close in week 1. Well, their first game, not week 1, but week 2, I guess. And yeah, I think defenses are probably going to stand tall here. Jordan Jones, we'll talk him. Tulsa, Noah Lyles. Jordan Jones, 6th leading tackler in the league. Noah Lyles is tied for 2nd in tackles for loss and leads the indoor football league in sacks. So they are getting after it. You see Trey Harvey there on the defensive secondary with 15 tackles himself. Not to be outdone, Charles Williams with 3.5 tackles for a loss and 2 sacks. So again, the defensive lines, those linebackers, they're really getting after it here. I look for just a very, very fun matchup. Players to watch, TJ Edwards, again, more of the same, just like Jerome Johnson in the Vegas preview. Rusher, passer. They've kind of opened up their passing game last week against Quad City, 125 yards, pretty much doubled his passing yardage. 70 rushing yards, 6 total touchdowns. Lionel McConnell, 4.5 tackles, 1 pick. He's got 3 interceptions, which I believe is either tied for 2nd or he's leading when it comes to interceptions in the league. On the other hand, Alexis Rosario, 8 catches, 77 yards, and 4 touchdowns for the guy. A breakout game for him against Sioux Falls. Look for more of the same here. If Daniel Smith can sling that ball around, Rosario, Nance, and Crockett, they can get after it. Noah Lyles, 5.5 tackles, 2.5 tackles for a loss, and 1.5 sacks with a forced fumble. He was everywhere on this field. I look for more of the same, too. You got to be able to stop the run here. TJ Edwards is going to run. They're going to run Jimmy Smith or Meatball Carter, unless they just decide to start throwing it. They only put the ball in the air 10 times last week. I don't really see much changing when it comes to Frisco. So Tulsa's got to get after it. Blitz Edwards, make them uncomfortable, make sure that they can get that ball and set them on third downs. But that's where some of the issues lie. I think I have the third down stats here. If I do, Frisco is 3rd in fourth down conversions, but middle of the pack when converting third downs. So if you get them to third downs, they're all right. It's kind of hit or miss if they convert. So it's going to be up to Tulsa to make sure that you get them in 3rd and long situations and really make them uncomfortable. As for Frisco, your job is to just do what you've been doing. In the sense, you're 3-0 for a reason. It took you overtime to beat them in the first game, and we'll talk about that in a second. But really just keep running the ball, control tempo, make sure Tulsa's offense doesn't get a chance to touch the ball or gets, a limited number of chances, and you can probably get away with a win here. Let's talk series history while we're at it. Frisco's up 3-0. They won in overtime in week 2, 31-25. Tulsa let the game slip away. They led for most of that game, and they let it slip away. You can't let that happen this time. You get out to that big of a lead like you did in the last game, you got to hold on to it. Fighters are favored by 7, juiced money line, over under 85.5. Let's go take a look at the 25-man rosters, and we will look at our bets. We'll get on out of here with another preview. All right, 25-man roster popping up here. Really, the only thing I have to say is Frisco signed Kobe Perry, who I believe was on San Diego's roster at some point. Not really much else with these rosters. Talked to someone with Tulsa. He said that they were signing defensive linemen. I haven't seen it yet. It might be posted by the time this comes out. I don't know, but not really much else to report. So, good job. All right, best bet, Tulsa straight up. They're at home. I expect them to play well at home and really kind of just avenge the demons that cost them the first game. You still have a chance to kind of win it in overtime as well, but if you get back out to a lead like that, you have to make sure that you go blow for blow against Frisco in this. You've got to be able to keep their scoring low. You have to make sure that you can force mistakes, force Edwards to really kind of throw out of the pocket, throw away. Like, you got to disrupt him. You've got to make sure that you keep him as uncomfortable as you possibly can. The secondary for Tulsa has been pretty good. I think that defensive line for Tulsa is really wanting to get after it as well. So that's my pick. We'll see what happens. We got 2 more previews to do. Let's finish strong, buddy. All right, preview number 5, and we have reached the fireworks of Week 6. 3-0 San Diego at 3-0 Bay Area, the Roy Choi Bowl, the Red Hot Chili Peppers Bowl, the California Classic, or whatever you want to call it. I don't care. This is going to be a good game. We do have some questions we need to ask, but I am expecting a pretty good game. 8:05 Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the SAP Center in San Jose, California. You have your leading statistic leaders as always. Number one question, is Nate Davis going to play? Does he start? Does he play? Rudy Johnson gets the start. He looked pretty good in relief. Chance Bell looked really good when they started running the ball against Arizona. And Arthur Jackson, 11 catches, 153 yards, and 5 touchdowns on the season. Offensively for Bay Area, it's Daquan Neal. Does he start? Does Felix Harper start? We'll see. Those are the big question marks coming into this game. The defenses for both teams are really good. You look at those stats, and I have to shrink down the font sometimes. Antoine Kincaid needs a microscope with the amount of stuff that he's put up. Tavon Grant, I know that he's kind of your leading defensive lineman, but don't let those fool you. Daytona Jackson is right there with him. On the San Diego side, Jaquan Artiste, Sherrod Williams, Justice King. That's not to negate other players. Armani Carey's getting in there. This should be a really fun game. There's not enough good things to say about both teams, so let's just move on to the players to watch here. Chance Bell, are they going to continue to run the ball? Is Nate Davis back? Are they going to continue to sling it? Is he going to catch balls out of the backfield? 11 rushes, 73 yards, and 3 touchdowns against Arizona. They knew what they had to do to beat the Rattlers. You just put the ball on the ground and finish the job. Defensively, Justice King, 6.5 tackles, 1 pick, 1 pass breakup, pick 6. Offensively for Bay Area, you got Pierre Williams, 4 catches, 46 yards, no touchdowns. A modest stat line against Tucson, but they didn't really need to do too much. Felix Harper came in relief. He's had a really good stat line. I mean, again, you look at what he's got up there, 15 catches, 173 yards. So yeah, that looks a little underwhelming, but in retrospect, he is that go-to guy. I expect a little bit more from him this week, especially if this is going to be the back and forth battle that I believe it's going to be. Defensively, it's Daytona Jackson. 4 tackles for a loss, and 2.5 sacks. Like I said, Tavon Grant is kind of that guy. Daytona Jackson's not that far behind. Dude is pretty good. He was destroying, and that should say Tucson, not Duke City. He was destroying Malik Mitchell. He was in that backfield so often, man. 4 tackles for a loss. He was just back there all the time. Tavon Grant was too. I look for more of the same here from Bay Area. Series history, Panthers lead 3-1. Their last meeting, week 17 of last year, Bay Area crushed them by 35, 75-40. Vegas is thinking more of the same, just not 35 points. 9-point lead or 9-point spread for Bay Area. Huge juiced money line and an over/under of 90.5. Let's go check out our 25-man roster. I'm going brain dead with all these previews. Let's go check out the 25-man roster, our best bet, and we've got one more preview after this. All right, 25-man roster popping up here, and nothing really to report from Bay Area. They haven't really updated anything, nor have they really had to. I haven't really seen any new guys or anything like that. On the San Diego side, Keshawn Walker is off to the CFL. He is signed with the Edmonton Elks, so kudos to him. It's nice to see players move up. There have been a couple of guys signed by San Diego. Malik Harris, I believe, got traded over there. I think I talked about him in the Vegas preview. He was a starting defensive lineman for the Nighthawks, so he could slot in there, but I think that defensive line is doing just fine for the Strike Force right now. I'm blanking on the names. I don't think they've really signed anyone else now that I'm looking at it. No, I don't think so. If they did, I didn't write them down. So Not really much else to report minus that. I guess we move on to our best bet. All right. Best bet here, over under 90.5 for San Diego and Bay Area. These are two really good offenses. I know Bay Area's defense is pretty good. San Diego's defense is just kind of coming into their own as well. I mean, you saw the performance that they did against Arizona. They still let up 45 points, however, but my main concern here is Bay Area's defense. Like we've talked, Tavon Grant, Daytona Jackson. If they can disrupt a running game, it might disrupt the flow of San Diego just a little bit, but it also depends on who the starting quarterbacks are. But you've seen Felix Harper take it to Tucson. You've seen Rudy Johnson take it to Arizona. I don't necessarily see a big drop-off unless both coaches, Rob Keefe and Taylor Jennis, if they're going to kind of just switch their schemes around or do whatever for this game based on who's starting. So I've got over 90.5. I think both these teams can score pretty quickly. They can score often. That's really the main basis here. I know defenses could reign supreme, which could really kill it, especially Bay Areas. That's what gives me fear. However, you got to roll with the points. San Diego puts them up in bunches. Bay Area is no slouch. Let's go on to our final preview. All right. Final preview right here. Throat still not feeling the best, but we'll try and motor through this. Still try and get some stats up here for you guys. 8:05 Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the Findlay Toyota Center in Prescott Valley, Arizona. The 0-3 Duke City Gladiators taking on the 2-1 Northern Arizona Wranglers. Now, this should be a fun matchup. We have some stuff to talk about, but it should be a fun matchup. Looking at the leaders, excuse me, I hate it. I hate being sick, guys. Looking at the leaders, it's a 4-yard discrepancy between Kilgo and Jones in the passing category, but a big old 7, and that interception number kind of separates the two quarterbacks in that regard. Rushing yards, roughly the same. Receiving yards, roughly the same as well between those two guys and the leaders. For me, I think the defense is going to be the key to the game here. I'm a little worried about Duke City's defense. Northern Arizona's defense is always good. Les Moss, he always has a good defense, man. Never doubt his defense. Just when I thought I could, they're good. So let's talk Duke City really quick. Javen Kilgo, almost 400 yards passing. Jeff Carr, 77 yards on 24 carries with a touchdown. He got his first touchdown last game against Tucson. Greg Dent, 9 catches, 130 yards, and 3 touchdowns himself. On the defensive side, Tamar Hart, 9 tackles, 2 for a loss, and with 1 sack. Jason Serta, 13.5 tackles, 2 for a loss. He didn't play in the game against Tucson, so hopefully that number gets bumped up here if he is playing against Northern Arizona. Aaron Jackson, 19 tackles and 1 pass breakup. He has just kind of been the guy for Duke City. Players to watch for the Gladiators, I have Jeff Carter, 86 total yards of offense against Tucson with 2 touchdowns. He was getting the ball pretty early and often, and I think you need to get that running game going. They did, to an extent, but Duke City needs to get that running game going to take pressure off of that passing game so Kilgo's not throwing 7 interceptions. Now, I get it. It's not just because of that. He could just maybe be playing some hero ball. Accuracy's not there. It's his rookie season, guys. But at the same time, anything you can do to kind of limit that, get him some confidence, get him the ability to throw accurately. You have Dent, you have Journey Sloan. Which way is it pronounced? Please let me know. But he is able to throw the ball. We know that. But I think having that second part of that offense, being able to run it, can really put a new dynamic for Duke City. For Northern Arizona, they are just a well-rounded machine to an extent. You see those stats right there, 400 yards, almost 100 yards for Josh Jones running. They've had a little inconsistency with the running game. Gerard Ware Jr. now with Tulsa, but they've brought in David Elder as kind of that hybrid wide receiver running back role. R.Z. McCorker, 12 catches, 160, and 4 touchdowns. So they're able to run the ball. They do some jet sweeps with Elder. He does take snaps out of the backfield. They do some jet sweeps with Miniweather, Maldonado, whatever the case could be. So to keep you honest, Josh Jones clearly with RPO keepers and things along those lines too. So the offense is pretty well rounded. Can Duke City's defense stop that? They've had some trouble with running quarterbacks when you look at Tucson, when you look at Duke City or Frisco, but they've kept it close. Can they do that here? Defensively for Northern Arizona, a lot of good stats. Travion Banks, 7 pass breakups. That's going to be key. Shannon Reed, 2.5 tackles for a loss with 2.5 sacks himself. Look for him to get after Kilgo. I know Kilgo is kind of mobile. He's not necessarily a statue back there. He can take off and run if he needs to, but you got to get after him and disrupt that timing. You got to increase that interception number if you're in Northern Arizona. Tremont Lofton, same thing, 4.5 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. No one else has more than 1 forced fumble on the season. He has 3. So he's going to be a force here if that defensive line can disrupt that offensive line of Duke City and they start putting pressure early and often on Duke City. So I look for the defense to obviously play a key role. It's one of the 3 phases of the game, but the main question you have to ask here is Duke City's offense going to be able to stop Northern Arizona's offense? And I know these are surface level things to ask. Northern Arizona's offense looks more than primed to stop Duke City's offense. Can you switch it around and have Duke City stop Northern Arizona's offense? I think that's where it lies. Players to watch: Jeff Carter, 81 yards total offense, 2 touchdowns. You got to get him more and more involved. Trey Claiborne, 5.5 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. You're going up against a good wide receiving core. Can't forget Elder out there too as kind of your hybrid, but you need him. You need Aaron Jackson. You need, if Jason Serta's playing, you need him to step up and blitz, drop into coverage. It's going to be tough to have this defense pretty much stretched thin. So, got to be able to stop them. Simple as that. And easier said than done. Players to watch from Northern Arizona: Josh Jones, just more of the same. Almost 200 total yards of offense, 11 of 13 accurate, 5 total touchdowns against San Antonio. Barn burner, man. Able to get that win in San Antonio, too. He looked pretty good. Defensively for Northern Arizona, Shannon Reed, 5.5 tackles, 2 for a loss, and 2 sacks. So, again, can Northern Arizona's defense just keep disrupting offenses? Tremont Lofton getting in the backfield, Shannon Reed there to help out, and obviously Travion Banks and company there with Kevin Hyde, and I'm blanking on the other 2 defensive backs that they have. But, excuse me, can Northern Arizona's defense stop them early and often? Really put pressure on them. If you do, I think we'll see a different version of the game than what I am envisioning. Here's a fun stat for you. Series history: 7-1 Duke City. Their last meeting, week 11, 2023 at Duke City, 47-40. I didn't envision that. I didn't envision this stat when I was looking this stuff up the other week, or earlier this week, excuse me, to see that Duke City just kind of trounces Northern Arizona. So, at least in terms of winning, I can go back and look at all the scores and stuff like that. But again, new rosters, new teams, new season. I know it's history, but kind of throw that all out the window. Northern Arizona favored by 10.5 with an over-under of 90.5. I think that speaks a little bit to some of the roster questions we're going to have here in a second. And, money line's locked. So they're picking Northern Arizona for a big win. So let's go check out those rosters. Let's go look at our bets and go talk to Aaron, and we'll get on out of here. All right, 25-man rosters popping up here. Not really much on the Northern Arizona side. I didn't really see any changes. So I'm assuming they're probably sticking with the same 8 starters, things along those lines. Again, tinkering. They might, sub some guys in, sub some guys out, see who they have that hasn't played yet. We'll see. But overall, I didn't really see any changes with Northern Arizona. We'll go from there. On the Duke City side, this is where I'm concerned. I only counted 19 players on their roster when they played Tucson. I tried to look in the end zone where all the players were, tried to count the jersey numbers, see if there was any guys. There was like a guy getting a massage off to the side on a massage table. I couldn't really see anyone minus the guys that I was able to pick out. Devonair Concliffe and Isaiah Bean got into the game as reserves. I didn't see anyone else. I watched this game twice to try and get the 25-man rosters down. I still couldn't find anyone. I know on the broadcast they said Jason Serta was hurt. I have not seen Tyron Laughinghouse play since I believe the first game. I have not seen Taz Wilson play since either the first or second game. They said they signed Jeremy Hickbottom on their Facebook page on one of their roster pictures. Don't know if he's still there. Haven't seen Cam Pruitt, and Aaron Jackson is wearing jersey number 24. So I don't know if Quarterman Sloan is still on the team as well either. So this is what we get when teams don't update their roster page. This is what we get when they just completely go radio silent. They're able to update their schedule page on their website, but they do not update their roster page. I do not know why. They don't. I don't know. It's just always been my biggest gripe with Duke City. Just update your roster page. Simple as that. Post on Facebook. You post on Facebook. Let us know who's starting. Let us know who's playing. It's as simple as that. I had to find, excuse me, I had to find that Jeremy Martin was playing for Duke City via a tweet from, I think it's PSLA, the agency that some of these players go through, that he was signed by Duke City. Otherwise, you probably never would have known who he was. So, just simple. Just put your roster out there. At least the starters for the game. But that's it for the 25-man roster. We'll see who the teams start. We'll see how many players Duke City has. Let's go check out our best bet, and we'll go talk to Aaron. All right, best bet here, plus 10.5 for Duke City. They've kept it close in all three of their games. 6-point loss to San Diego, 9-point loss to Frisco, and a 7-point loss to Tucson. So plus 10.5 should work here if that's what we're crediting. I know Northern Arizona's offense can score, but the thing that scares me is the defense. I know we talked about it a little bit in the 25-man roster. I think Northern Arizona's offense is pretty good, but I don't know with Tucson and Malik Mitchell. They were able to get after him. Frisco had TJ Edwards. That's not to say that Josh Jones isn't a good quarterback. He is pretty good for the system that he's in. He's not a system quarterback. But for Duke City to be able to stay in those games against Frisco and Tucson and things along those lines, for me personally, I think Duke City can stay in this one as well. It all just comes down to that roster. Who they have starting. Do they have new players coming in? We never know. Northern Arizona, you know what you're kind of getting at this point to the extent of the roster. So if Northern Arizona can shut down Duke City's offense, shut down that passing game, Northern Arizona wins this bet. Simple as that. If Duke City can drag them through the mud, pull them down to their level, and keep it close, even if it's a high-scoring game in the 40s, I think Duke City wins this bet. So let's go talk to Aaron. We'll do our previews and predictions on that, and we'll get on out of here. All right. Welcome back to Aaron's IFL Corner. We have a lot to get to. As usual, you know Aaron. He's going to pop up in his little Aaron's IFL Corner right there in the corner. As always, his article, everything, his preview, predictions, and stuff like that we'll get to on the UFL News Hub. Go check those out as always. Link in the description of the video, along with the timestamps and everything else. Let's not waste any more time. We got a lot to get to. All right. 6 o'clock game, Vegas and Jacksonville. Jacksonville are looking to gain their footing on offense as they have a rough transition from the NAL. Along with the transition, they've been playing against one of the most damning schedules in the Indoor Football League. This week, the Sharks need to find ways to put points on the board, and defensively, they need to contain Jerome Johnson. Nighthawks are on a roll as they travel to Jacksonville to stay undefeated. Offensively, Jerome Johnson leading their unit through the ground and the air. Only area of improvement for the Nighthawks is their dependence on the quarterback's running ability. They could find themselves in a difficult spot if he gets injured while running the ball. We'll find out. He did get injured against Jacksonville. The Nighthawks find a way to get a few stops. and their offense has some success on the scoreboard. His prediction, 45-40, Nighthawks win. Right there with him, 50-41. Should be a fun game. Moving on. Number 2, Quad City in Massachusetts. Quad City are a team that needs to find a new identity. In previous seasons, offense is focused on a dynamic quarterback in E.J. Hilliard, but with him gone, the Wheelers need to find a new approach to their offense. Current quarterback Judd Erickson needs to build more chemistry if his receivers want to have a chance to make a run at a playoff spot. Quad City gets a boost this week from their home crowd, but they need to put points on the board. I don't know who's starting. He's got it with Erickson. Could be Mike Irwin. We'll figure it out. They shared some snaps last game, I guess. Massachusetts are loaded with talent on offense and have been successful in leaning hard on their effective running game. After resting Jimmy Robinson last week, the Pirates should be feeling fresh and healthy. Unfortunately, the Pirates are on the road and traditionally struggle on the road. While the Pirates' running game and defense will likely get them another win, they need to find more balance in the offense as the season progresses. Damn it, I put the damn paper in there. I disagree with that, personally. I think their offense is perfectly balanced. Running game should help win for Massachusetts. Aaron's prediction, 47-45. He's got it close. I don't. I've got Massachusetts running away with this one as much as you can in the Indoor Football League. 49-38, Pirates win. Let's move on. Game number 5, Iowa and Arizona. Barnstormers could be better on offense and defense. Last week, they found themselves running into a brick wall. That is Massachusetts. Offensively, the Barnstormers have to discover new playmakers to help them get in front of the chains and start picking up first downs. Defensively, they need to get stops on that side of the ball and give their offense a chance to get rolling. On the other side for Arizona, coming in a week 6 games with a 3-game losing streak that coincides with quarterback Dalton Snead's loss. Each week, the Rattlers have had a chance to win close in games, but Lorenzo Brown has failed to make the key plays that allow them to win. This week is an excellent opportunity for Arizona to return back on the right track. Perfectly agree. Arizona 42, Iowa 36 is Aaron's prediction. I have it just a little bit more. 45-35, Rattlers win. Let's continue. Tulsa and Frisco. In the first round of the Red River Rumble, Tulsa did everything except win the game. They held the lead for most of it. At the end of the fourth quarter, I'm tripping over my words, the lack of the clock management allowed Frisco to force overtime. Tulsa has had one of the best defensive units in the league, and quarterback Daniel Smith is starting to get the Oilers' offense fired up. For Frisco, they have struggled to live up to the standards of excellence so far this season. Offensively, they are kind of one-dimensional, riding their running game with quarterback TJ Edwards and Meatball Carter. This week, the Fighters will need to get their passing game working more effectively and efficiently if their defense needs to step up and force some turnovers of their own. I agree with all that. We don't know who the running back's going to be, but either way, Frisco's good at running the ball. However, we have an upset. 45-40. He's got Tulsa pulling the upset at home. And you know I bet the money line, 41-38. I too think the Oilers can pull out the victory here. 2 more games to go here. Game number 7 of the week, Bay Area and San Diego. The Panthers have turned away all challengers so far this season. Bay Area faces a San Diego team that's ready to move up a tier in the Indoor Football League. The Panthers have been nearly unstoppable on offense and contain their opponent's offense this season. If Bay Area and quarterback DeQuan Neal stay healthy, they stay atop the IFL. San Diego, on the other hand, is the hottest team in the Indoor Football League. Last week, they had to turn up their running game with Chance Bell and get a win on the road against a tough Arizona team. Previously, the Strike Force have never beaten the Rattlers, and picking up a win should do a lot to raise that confidence. One uncharacteristic element in the win was the inability of their quarterbacks, Nate Davis and Rudy Johnson, to get in a rhythm with the passing game. San Diego cannot afford a slow start against the Panthers. Kind of disagree. I think the game for San Diego was just fine. I think the offense went just as well as you'd expect. Rudy Johnson came in, played pretty well. Regardless, he has Bay Area winning this game 50-44. I have the same score. I have the same score, just a little bit more points, 50-49. It's a close one. I honestly could see San Diego pulling the upset. Would not be shocked. It's at Bay Area, though. Crowd will get into it. Expect the Panthers to win. Final game. Northern Arizona and Duke City. The Wranglers are exceeding expectations this season behind the playmaking ability of wide receiver RZ McCorker. Quarterback Josh Jones has done an excellent job of getting the ball to his offensive weapon, and he can pick up key rushing yards in short yardage situations. Defensively, the Wranglers must step up to get some stops against their opponent. For Duke City, it's a difficult team to read, which shows that they need help to execute offense and defense well. Javen Kilgo has played well for the Gladiators, and when they have been able to score some points, but turnovers have made it difficult for them to be in a position to win games. Defensively, the Gladiators have a lot of work to do, and they need to find ways to pressure opposing quarterbacks, giving them a chance to force turnovers. Aaron's final prediction, 45-35, Northern Arizona wins. I've got a little bit different, 46-39. I think we agree on every game. We do. And I think we agreed on the games on Thursday and Friday too. So, hey, great minds think alike. That's it for our predictions here. Kudos to Aaron. I know this goes by pretty quick. We got a lot of games, but I appreciate you getting the previews to me when you do, getting all this stuff out. I want to wrap this up really quick, so thank you for watching this. I know it's long. Timestamps and everything will be included. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. That being said, let's get into week 6, final 6 games. See ya.